a 1500 kg hockey puck flies into space and then comes right back down. A space telescope looks at an interesting galaxy and a roundup of space traffic. All of that on this episode of Orbit Weekly. So the way this is going to break down, because this is the first episode, we figured we should go through it just real quick a little bit. There's going to be 3 different sections. So the first section is like SpaceX, Rocket Lab, Blue Origin, stuff like that. Second section is going to be outside of the U.S. So it could be Europe, India, JAXA, Isar, China, all that kind of stuff. And then section 3 is going to be anything that's already in space already or other NASA related news. I think that that's probably the best way to go. It is what it is, right? So, and then the final part will be launches from this week. This week in space traffic. We'll get a little bit of footage in there as well. But yeah, let's get into it. So, let's start with SpaceX news. Now, this week SpaceX launched Starfall. Starfall is a tech demo reentry vehicle. Launch took place on Tuesday morning at Slick 40. Here's Slick 40, which is also Space Launch Complex 40. Starfall is a reentry vehicle designed for point-to-point transportation or on-orbit manufacturing. This will eventually launch on Starship. This big thing right here. Details about the overall size are kind of hard to come by, and as of writing versus as of recording, we did get some kind of dimensions, which look like this. It's pretty much a hockey puck. It's pretty much what it looks like. One of the main things is that important, they cannot deorbit themselves. This means that if they go point to point, they will be launched in a suborbital profile. The only thing that they control is which way they are pointing. So this is their attitude control. That's pretty much about it. But considering we are starting to see a lot of Starship ramp up of getting closer to Artemis 3 at early 2027, we are starting to see a lot of that kind of stuff now of what SpaceX, what Blue Origin is wanting to get to. This just happens to be SpaceX. So, on to the next part. Isar Aerospace, which is headquartered in Germany, scrubbed its Spectrum launch this week. This is the second attempt to launch this configuration after its first initial run, which only lasted about 25 seconds. Spectrum is a small satellite launcher. This means that it's not really meant for people. It's more of throwing things into orbit, launching things into orbit that are not really all that big. Sometimes they launch stuff that's a lot lighter, and they put it on a huge rocket, and they send it far away. The small sat launchers really only go to LEO, so low Earth orbit. it Isar though is having some troubles. Um, earlier, nope, later later the previous year, they did have a mission, and it was called what was it? I can't think of the name. It is what it is. But it blew up 25 seconds into the flight. They've been doing a lot of research on this. They have their reasons. But their next / current mission is Onward and Upward. They are trying to get it a little bit further off the ground this time. But we are hoping for them. This week, the James Webb Space Telescope pointed itself at Messier 82, also known as the Cigar Galaxy. This is a starburst galaxy, and because Webb can see infrared, it can see through clouds and cosmic dust, which gives us a better view of what's going on. It can also see past about 16.5 million stars as well. M82 is thought to be producing stars at a faster rate than previously observed. And its shape shows us that it was in a collision with another galaxy. This is what they ended up seeing. The clouds are coming from the material in the middle. That material is being ejected and is being dispersed so fast that it might disrupt stellar births in the future. Does this mean anything for us? Absolutely not. But it is showing us how gravity affects galaxies. And how everything in space, although yes, it might have a track and all of that kind of stuff, and an orbit, and it's just organized chaos. And half the time, it's not even organized. So, thinking about that, there are plans to look at other things like this as well. So, should we maybe report on that kind of stuff? This is your space traffic report. So, starting June 19th, we had the Victus Hayes Puma mission from Rocket Lab. This was launched on Electron from Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1A in New Zealand. And it was an exercise of a realistic threat response to improve technically responsive space processes. So pretty much the idea of this was they're going to build a satellite and then go on pretty much on notice. They had about 24 hours to get this thing ready to go. Pretty much, yeah. Ready to go is probably the best thing to say here. They had 24 hours to do it, of getting it from the clean room onto the, strapped to the rocket, well, bolted to the rocket. The rocket get put up, launched, and into orbit, and the spacecraft needed to be ready to be commissioned into service in that 24 hours. They did it in 16, which is impressive for something, for a mission like that. Our next one came on June 21st. This was Starlink 1728. This was a SpaceX Falcon 9. These Falcon 9s are able to land on their own, and they are completely reusable. This one was B1063, so Booster 1063. This was 1063's 33rd flight. It took off from Vandenberg Space Launch Complex 4 East, and it landed on SpaceX's drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. And it was carrying the V2 mini satellites for the second generation of the Starlink program. Immediately the next day, we got a launch from China. This is the TJSW-26A mission. This is for China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, and it was launched on a Long March 7A. This was launched in Wenchang Space Launch Center, Launch Complex 201. And as of recording, because it is the Chinese space program, it is classified. But what they did say is that it is a communication technology test. So, we'll see what actually happens. I'm sure there's people looking around for it, trying to figure out what it's going to do, or what it is doing at this point. June 23rd, that is our Starfall mission. That was from SpaceX as well. That was on a Falcon 9. And that was booster 1078 on its 29th flight. This one launched, as we talked before, from Space Launch Complex 40 or Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral. And it landed on a shortfall of gravitas. And this was just the tech demo. And then our last launch, in terms of recording, there have been many more, but we'll talk about them. June 24th was another Starlink launch. This was 1745. This was on a Falcon 9, as per usual. This was booster 1081 and on its 25th flight. This one also launched from Vandenberg as well, 4E, and it landed on, of course, I Still Love You. And this was also V2 mini satellites. They're just launching like 20 of these things every couple of days. Like, they're just rolling. But yeah, we're going to move on to talk about what we're going to see next week. And maybe something a little bit different. Alright, that is it for this week's update. Join me next week when we talk about Swift. We're going to talk about SXM-11. We'll talk 10 Owl of 10. That one's from Rocket Lab. Another launch from Rocket Lab of the Grain Goddess mission, as well as other stories from space and whatever goes into it. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. I'm going to make this a little bit of a new series, and as always, Ad Astra.